Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Monday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. Do the Lakers have their eye on a new free agent beyond Christian Wood? That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everyone for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. Always free, never going to be behind a paywall. Locked On Lakers on YouTube. We are so close, Andy, so close to the magic 20,000 subscriber mark. I don't know what happens when you get there. I assume YouTube sends you some sort of fruit basket. Looking forward to that. So help us get past that 20K threshold. We really appreciate all the support the channel has been getting. Definitely leave us your questions, your comments, ideas for show topics over the course of the summer, because we're going to bring you shows. You know, we're not taking the summer off. So I do want to let everybody know that today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks first-time users can receive 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. That's prizepicks.com, promo code Locked On. Andy, the Christian Wood saga continues. Bismack Biyombo still out there waiting for a suitor to sign him up. But this weekend, the Lakers were linked to yet another free agent, kind of an interesting name. Rudy Gay, former member of the Jazz, which trade was he involved in? To the Thunder.
He was coming off a season or 2 seasons with Utah and now is a free agent, according to Michael Scotto from Hoops Hype. He has been linked to the Lakers as well as the Warriors, the Mavericks, the Bulls, and the Pelicans. He is expected to draw interest from playoff caliber teams, which would make sense because unless he was just hard up for offers and really wants to be in the NBA, I don't know why Rudy Gay is looking for anybody but a contender at this stage of his career.
Right. It's an interesting thing because, like, he is on the one hand kind of, steady veteran influence, kind of we talked a lot about predictability, particularly guys who would be deeper in the bench. And Gay, on this team would be 6'8". He is a 7'3" wingspan is where he's listed. And so he actually played a little bit of small ball center for Utah last season. But I think about 15% was the number that was given for the amount of minutes that he played as a small ball center. So he's not.
And that's gone on the last couple seasons for Rudy Gay as well.
So he's not completely incapable or out of left field that he could soak up a few of those minutes behind Anthony Davis. He is not by any stretch of the imagination, though, a center. So he'd have another 6'8", long-armed body who actually plays pretty decent, team defense and all that kind of stuff, smart team defender and all that, to throw into a suddenly crowded mix. It's an interesting. He doesn't solve the center problem, but he would be an interesting name for the back of the bench.
No, he would be the equivalent, I think, in a lot of ways. I mean, other than somebody that you could play at the 4 with Anthony Davis, stretch the floor for him, but You're keeping Anthony Davis at center. It's just somebody that you can pair up with Anthony Davis. Although, as we've talked about before, Christian Wood may be 2 inches smaller and has spent more time playing center than Rudy Gay. I don't honestly consider Christian Wood a center solver with Anthony Davis for this team. We've talked about it before. People can go back to a recent podcast. In terms of the way I think this roster is set up and the other guys that would be out on the floor for a lot of this, I don't personally, some of this can be semantics, but I don't really consider it. But anyway,
I think Wood is a very nice fit offensively. He is a problematic fit defensively.
Right. But Rudy Gay in a lot of ways reminds me of what the Lakers would sometimes do when they would have LeBron and Rui Hachimura on the floor together with AD sitting. And then, like, we saw this pronounced really well during the Memphis series. Finally, Wenyen Gabriel ended up getting the minutes that had gone to Troy Brown and or Malik Beasley. And it made a big difference in terms of keeping Memphis, a bigger team, off the glass.
Mm-hmm.
I see Rudy Gay as potentially more of that kind of guy as a small ball center, where it becomes really, I don't know who the center is between LeBron, Rui, and Gay, and I'm not sure, depending on who else is out there for the other team, I even care.
Right.
It's just a bigger body to help you on the glass.
So the problem here, and I went back and looked, is in my brain, Rudy Gay, while he's going to be 30, he's turning 37, might already be 37. Let me check that. He is 36 in 340 days as we record this show. So before the start of the season, he'd be 37. The problem is, and in my mind, he had been more productive in Utah than he actually was. And, last season, in admittedly short minutes, played 56 games, about a little under 15 minutes a night, shot only 38% from the floor and 25% from three. The season before that, he was at 34.5% from three, which would, is a particular, totally tolerable number, but only 41% from the floor. About 9 and more of his shots coming from two than you would think. The season before that, though, he was at 38% and from three, 42% from the floor, playing almost 22 minutes a night for the Spurs. And so what worries me about that on a team where you already have Jackson Hayes, who is a bit of a question mark in my mind, maybe not in theirs, and Cam Reddish, who is a question mark in my mind, and I hope in theirs. I mean, they're trying to rehab and see what they can squeeze from that. I don't want to add too many guys to this roster that I wouldn't feel comfortable playing. And there's a strong possibility here that Rudy Gay has finally kind of hit a wall. The defense of Rudy Gay would be his three-point shooting, for example, has been wildly inconsistent throughout his career. So perhaps last year was just that sort of variance, and he could be a 38% three-point shooter again for the Lakers. But the drop in performance as you go from 35 to 36 to 37 worries me.
Yeah, we've talked before about like JaVale McGee, for example. Like it is expected that JaVale is either going to get traded by Dallas or waived and stretched, but like one way or another will not be on Dallas. But if he ends up a free agent, we've heard from a lot of people, whether on Twitter at Cam Brothers or hitting us up in the Locked On Lakers YouTube channel comments section about, would we be interested in JaVale? And obviously he has that great history with the Lakers. He was part of the 2020 championship team. He was fantastic in the locker room. You and I both really liked him while covering him. And we both really just love the arc, like the story of his career and the way he's redeemed himself, I think, in terms of a professional and respect level. But given what happened in Dallas and how much they really wanted to commit to him, they gave him a 3-year deal. And Jason Kidd is the coach. Jason Kidd coached him in LA. He was Frank Vogel's lead assistant. Like, this was not something thrust upon Jason Kidd. And they moved really quickly off him. It makes you wonder if age is catching up to JaVale in ways that his floor is no longer high. And I have concerns that with someone like Rudy Gay, the thing you would want is, his ceiling is going to be pretty low given where he is in his career, but that the floor would be high. My concern is that Rudy Gay's floor isn't even that high anymore.
That's really what I'm getting at. And look, I'm not surprised people are talking about like bringing back JaVale, because people are still talking about bringing back Dwight Howard. And I really need, while we love the YouTube support that we're getting and the activity on that channel, that percentage of you who are diehard bring back Dwight guys, we need you to stop. that's not okay. JaVale is more realistic, but that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, there are certain things about Rudy Gay's floor that I think the coaching staff would find appealing in terms of he'd be low maintenance. He would know exactly what his role would be in the 10 to 12, 12 to 15, some DNPs. the 2 weeks Anthony Davis doesn't play, guys are out, he could play a little bit, whatever.
Always been known as very professional.
They would know he would know exactly what to do. They wouldn't have to explain anything to him. He's a plug and play kind of guy, going from 14th in your rotation to 9th for 2 weeks. Like, he could do that. But I don't know how good he would be. And like I said, like I would feel more comfortable with Wood, even with knowing that his defensive liability would be strong. I would feel much more comfortable with Biyombo, because you know exactly what skill set you're getting and that he would be good at it. Like, he has a high ceiling in that one area and then low everywhere else. Okay. You can plan for that. If Rudy Gay was your 15th roster spot and they actually filled it and like he was your and with Wood or Biyombo, fine. I have no problem with it. But just by himself, if they really are going to keep that 15th spot open, you can't use it on Rudy Gay. You can't use 14 on Rudy Gay. Gabe Vincent has some really interesting things to say about winning a title versus winning a gold medal, which we'll get to. Austin Reeves has some very interesting things to say about not knowing Taylor Swift. But next, Andy, the Lakers and NBA trade history. This is a really fun thing that you found on Hoops Hype, that the Lakers are all over, and we will explain next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by PrizePicks, and Laker fans, if you have not signed up for PrizePicks yet, you are missing out on daily fantasy made easy. PrizePicks has the best DFS prop game on the market. They offer more props than any other DFS prop operator. They offer the superstar players, the bench players. Just pick 2 to 6 players and predict whether they will notch more or less than PrizePicks stats projections, and you can win up to 25 times your money. And they offer projections on everything from MLB to WNBA to even cricket. And if you're a Dodger fan listening right now, a lot of options out there, a lot of guys to choose from with the Dodgers, particularly now as they're looking to getting closer to the trade deadline. Be aggressive, have some fun. Use the award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. Safe, fast withdrawals. Download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com. Sign up, play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. Again, don't forget the promo code Locked On at the sign up for the instant match. And if you're not playing PrizePicks, you don't know what you're missing.
Okay. You and I last week spent a little time talking about Austin Reeves and his appearance on the All the Smoke podcast with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson. And I think we talked about like stupid things like, was he close to signing with a different team, what teams those might have been, and like irrelevant things, and the unimportant stuff. More from that interview, Andy, he was asked about the rumors that got everything. Twitter and NBA Twitter was all over this one. The rumor that he was dating Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
And they asked him about it. Like, was she down in Arkansas? And he said, I ain't never talked to her. They said we were in a bar in Arkansas. I've never met her, never talked to her.
Oh, he put in stronger terms, Brian. He said all BS. All BS, and he didn't use BS. He used the actual words.
Yeah, because you can curse on that show, unlike this one.
Oh, I think it's required to curse on All the Smoke.
Can you imagine if they actually, like if that was a Locked On show, and David Locke was like, sorry, Steven Jackson. And if that was a Locked On show, we would be getting a memo from David Locke that Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes have rules that don't apply to the rest of us. The Jordan rules. It's very different. Like, yes. When you are them, right? So sorry, Locke.
Exactly.
Lakers, still no cursing.
Oh, David Locke is not a dummy. If he could get Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes on his network, he would say, you guys say whatever the hell you want. I'll deal with all these other people upset with it.
Yeah.
It is worth noting, Brian, if Austin Reeves was dating Taylor Swift, this is exactly what he would say.
That's true.
Yeah. This is exactly what somebody who is dating arguably the most famous pop star on the planet, it's exactly what he'd say if he was dating.
If he doesn't want people talking, as he says, he caps the line of questioning with, quote, I'm going to stay out of the media.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Here's the thing. This version of Austin Reeves not dating Taylor Swift, this version just might be. Yeah.
The ascension story of Austin Reeves is already incredible, but it becomes arguably the greatest American success story. If he's actually dating Taylor Swift.
We had the great meme where Rihanna was staring down Alex Caruso, and I know all of us tried to wish that into existence. It never happened. You know, she's gone on. She has a child. I think another one coming. Very happy with ASAP Rocky, so it worked out.
On her feet.
She's landed on her feet, that Rihanna. But I still believe in the prospect of Austin Reeves and Taylor Swift.
Okay, you found something really entertaining on Hoops Hype that is just littered with the Lakers.
Yeah, Hoops Hype put out a really fun list. I believe it was last week, in light of the Damian Lillard and James Harden, trade me to this team or bust demands, and the stalemate that's going on right now between Dame and the Blazers and Harden and the Sixers. And Hoops Hype did a piece listing the 26 most impactful trade demands in NBA history. We'll put a link to the article in the show notes for this one once it's up, whether in YouTube or you can find it on iTunes. But I noticed going through this list just how many of these trade demands are linked directly or indirectly, like tangentially, or even a little bit of both, to the Lakers. Like the top 12 alone. Number 11. AD eventually going to the Lakers. 10, Chris Paul and basketball reasons. Number 9, Scottie Pippen eventually going to the Blazers in a sign and trade, which is not directly connected to the Lakers, but that was part of that Lakers-Blazers awesome rivalry in the early 2000s. And Phil did actually try to trade for Scottie while Scottie was in Portland. Number 8 was Kawhi Leonard to Toronto. Before going to Toronto, by all accounts, Kawhi was interested in a trade to the Lakers. And certainly before going to the Clippers, he had been directly linked to the Lakers because the Lakers were waiting on him in free agency. Number 7, 2004, Shaq's trade demand. He goes to Miami. Dynasty ends. The feud simmers. Both teams end up with titles involving players on both ends of that deal. Number 6, Wilt from the Sixers to the Lakers. Number 5, Kobe's 2007 offseason trade demand.
Pluto.
Yes. Number 4, Hakeem 92. I didn't realize this. He wanted a trade from Houston. It was obviously unmet in Houston. That has really nothing to do with the Lakers. Number 3, I forgot about this. Shaq in 2001 requested a trade. It obviously was not honored, but he was sick of the back and forth with him and Kobe. And I'm reading right now from the Hoops Hype piece. The Los Angeles Times reported today, this is something that they excerpted, that O'Neal told Phil Jackson and general manager Mitch Kupchak after a December 28th game at Phoenix that he wanted to be traded. Kupchak told the Times he did not take the demand seriously. It was after the Lakers defeated the Suns 115-78. He said he believed O'Neal was merely venting his season-long frustration with the offense, general, and Bryant in particular. O'Neal, who had signed
I think he's just venting his frustration with the offense and Kobe in particular.
O'Neal, who signed a 3-year, $88.4 million extension in October, has not followed up. Kupchak said, "You have to take the conversation for whatever the moment was. Never for a second did I consider it. This is something that will be worked out. There haven't been and there will be no discussions about trading anyone, period." Number 2 on this list, Magic demanding a trade in 82. Obviously, Magic was not traded, but that led to Paul Weston.
81, I thought.
82.
Oh, okay. But yeah,
it led to Paul Weston getting fired. Pat Riley hired. Showtime is birthed. The NBA is saved. No big deal. And number 1, Kareem from the Bucks to the Lakers. That's crazy, man. And then you go
it kind of is.
You go 12 through 26. There are at least 2 or 3 that are either directly or tangentially related to the Lakers. Like Dwight going from Orlando to the Lakers is somewhere between 12 and 26. Right. It's just crazy how much of these pivotal moments in NBA history involving great players, all in one way or another, are centered around the Lakers.
Right. And what struck out to me is how many of them literally were the Lakers. Not just the stuff that is tangentially related, or the Lakers were part of the rumor or whatever it is, but Lakers players or players who were trying to get to LA. All of that was totally, it was so much fun. And like you said, we'll go through that list. The Kobe thing, I will always remember that summer. Like, that was crazy because people like, I maybe I remember the younger fans, whatever. He did like this radio tour where he was on every sports radio, like every station. I think he was on NPR. I think he went to like, NBC. I mean, he was everywhere.
It was crazy.
Yeah. It was this insane.
Was before like Twitter. Like, can you imagine if Twitter had existed then?
Oh my God. All right. Gabe Vincent had some, we'll go back and it's worth a read. It's a lot of fun. Gabe Vincent had some really interesting things to say about the value of Olympic medals versus titles in ways that could get a Lakers fan's attention. We'll get to that next. Okay, Andy, so not everybody knows this. I actually didn't realize it until reading about this stuff, that Gabe Vincent plays for the Nigerian national team. Through his, it's not uncommon for American players to do that through, family, father, grandfather, grandmother, mother, all that kind of stuff. It's pretty common for players to play for other countries. So on the Old Man and the Three podcast with JJ Redick and Tommy Alter, he said this: for me personally, I've been really looking forward to raising that Larry O'Brien trophy. I hope so. That's why the Lakers are certainly hoping that as well. But knowing how much it would mean for the 400 million plus people in Nigeria, let alone the 1-point-something billion on the continent of Africa, that's a hard one to pass up. Getting a gold medal, especially in the sport where African teams haven't had much of a footing. Not only would it be fulfilling and great in its own way, but I think legacy-wise it would stand taller a little longer. So I'm going to reluctantly have to say that a gold medal with Nigeria, I think that would be just epic. And this was, of course, as you could tell, in response to the question of which would you rather win, a title or an Olympic gold medal? I think it's a fascinating answer.
Well, first of all, I mean, you and I don't follow like Olympic basketball and, like World Cup and, all of these different events. We like global basketball. We don't cover it that closely or pay that close of attention to it. But I am willing to assume that for the Nigerian basketball team, Gabe Vincent would be one of the stars of that team. I have to imagine he would be one of the best players on the team and one of like the focal points of the offense, something like that. So, and again, maybe I'm wrong about this. Please feel free.
You talk, I'll look it up.
Yeah, please feel free to correct me on this. Anybody listening or comment section, whatever. But assuming I'm correct about it, I can understand where he's coming from, because beyond what he talked about before, when it comes to like representing, a nation and that population of people that at this point still feels unrepresented in this sport, as a country, and even he put it as a continent. There's also the idea of feeling like you are going to be a bigger piece of that. Like if Gabe Vincent ends up part of a championship team between now and the next, 3 seasons when he's under contract with the Lakers, I imagine that he will be a notable part of the team. He will be a rotation player. He might be a closer. He might have a similar role that Alex Caruso had in 2020, where he didn't start, but he pretty much always closed. But Gabe Vincent still won't likely be one of the guys immediately remembered with that team. Like if things go as everybody expects, you remember LeBron and AD first, then probably Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, Rui, like the guys who are higher in the pecking order, unless Gabe Vincent just has Ori-esque, Derek Fisher-esque, Trevor Ariza-esque moments. Like those sorts of things. If Nigeria wins a gold medal, I'm pretty confident Gabe Vincent's going to be one of the driving forces.
Sure. Just to look it back up, the last time he played on the 22 team, I think that's the Olympic team. Jordan Nwora, there are some NBA guys on it. Jordan Nwora, Chimezi Metu, Precious Achiuwara, Josh Okogie, KZ Okpala. So there are some.
Yeah, but nobody that feels
NBA
like
names.
but nobody that feels though like they are more established in the NBA than Gabe.
No, they're all, you know, some guys who are kind of in that sort of same basic,
and particularly as scorers too, because we always remember the scorers.
But it's what's interesting to me isn't so much the role. I mean, it's an interesting way to look at it from the role. I just think his evaluation of kind of impact, like broadly the impact, because he's not wrong. Like what that would be, like, would be one of the most memorable Olympic victories in anything, you know, if Nigeria to win. Nigeria did beat the US, I think it was 2 years ago, 4 years ago, might have been in the Olympics, or one of the big tournaments, whether
2020.
2020. Yeah.
Team USA lost to Nigeria.
So, I mean, it's not that they can't play decent ball. You just heard me, you know, saying, you know, some of the, they have NBA talent on that roster. But the stuff where he talks about just the impact of what that would mean for the continent of Africa and the country of Nigeria and all, like, these would be sort of seminal moments in the history of these places from a sports standpoint, in ways that an NBA title just can't compete with in the US.
Right. And then
the significance.
And then being,
but I mean, even if he was just a supporting character on that, like, the being a part of something that significant from a sports level to that many people, you know, we talk about, you know, casuals in the NBA and people who kind of like, don't, you know, you and I, you know, I didn't realize the British Open was this weekend, you know, for example, and I like golf. There isn't anybody, I mean, grain of salt, obviously it's an exaggeration, but like the amount of people that would be together on the continent of Africa to see Nigeria or any African country try to win a gold medal in basketball. Casuals, they bring people who never heard of basketball, never seen it, just on principle, like, because it's never happened. And, you know, it's never been a thing. So, I mean, to be part of that, and to bring that kind of pride and joy to that many people, it's just, there's no way an NBA title can compete with that. He's not wrong. He's in that sense, and I could see why he would land on that evaluation. It doesn't mean he doesn't want to win an NBA title, because frankly, Nigeria is not going to win an Olympic gold medal anyway. But I just thought it was a really thoughtful answer.
It is a really thoughtful answer, and it speaks to a lot of what we heard about Gabe Vincent. You know, talking with Locked On Heat, with the scouting report, and just the general consensus on Gabe Vincent is that he's a great guy in the locker room, but also just he's a really thoughtful guy. And I agree with you. I think this really reflects just that he's an introspective thinker.
Also a self-look, because like you're talking about, like, just, you know, you're thinking of the joy of, like, you're balancing the amount, like the cumulative level of joy and impact for things that really don't benefit you. I mean, that's become fabulously wealthy by being on the Nigerian team that wins. Like,
no, but that's something team centric though. People do is they think about others around them. So again, it reflects a lot of what we heard about Gabe Vincent.
Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go to see the show, hang out. Please stop talking about Dwight Howard, though. If you're going to be doing it, we want you welcome. We want you here. We love you. We appreciate you. Please don't keep recommending Dwight Howard. Lots to get to this week. We've got some great interviews coming up. A lot of got a Cam Reddish scouting report coming up, and we've got some fun interviews, which we're going to kind of extend through into August, as that's creeping up on us pretty quickly. Please, 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 in the comment section, if there are people that you want us to try to get onto the show, leave us those comments. You can tweet us at CamBrothers, KamenetskyBrothers@gmail.com. If you really want to drop us an email, get old school with it, because we want your input. So we will see everybody on Tuesday.